Welcome to our EMS Incident Command channel, where we share informative and educational videos to continue to bring new, seasoned and aspiring leaders into our EMS community around the world. Our profession is not easy, but we are chosen to help others in their time of need. We can help ease their pain and control the chaos when needed. Today, we will discuss emergency scene management. This is an important topic to discuss, as this happens on all emergency calls, small or large. So, let's get into it. First, we will discuss what information you need to gather at the scene and why. As an EMS officer, you are the best person to do it.
How many patients do we have? What type of emergency do we have? Is it medical or trauma? What resources are needed?
As an EMS officer, a thorough knowledge of the emergency scene is important. You will be the person who will be initially treating the patients and managing the scene as needed. Gathering as much information as you can is crucial for you to be able to get the appropriate resources needed and to be able to control the emergency scene efficiently. The most important thing you can do is to get your arms around the scene so you can handle containment. What clues are you looking for at the scene of a medical emergency versus an active shooter type of incident? In EMS, we obviously respond to many different emergency scenarios. When we show up to a medical call, one important thing to do is to gather information from the patient and family.
We need to know what is the nature of the emergency. Is the emergency related to something in the patient's medical history or something new? What is the patient's medical history?
This will help us to determine the direction in which the treatment will go.
Ask the patient about their symptoms and when did they begin? Have they been dealing with this illness for a while? Does anything lessen the symptoms or make them worse?
Medical emergencies can sometimes be a mystery.
We need to talk to the patient and ask what is the emergency? We need to ask what their medications are and why they are taking them. Has anything changed recently or is anything new?
We know that these types of emergencies do not need to be a load and go. This is when we want to take a few extra minutes and gather all the information that would be helpful for the patient care team at the hospital. If the scene is a multiple casualty scenario, first we must determine if it is safe to enter. We will add a link to our EMS officer active shooter thoughts at the end of this video. The first EMS officer on any scene should assume triage, if needed, and/or EMS command, and begin gathering as much information about the scene as possible. We need to ask ourselves,
how many total patients do we have? What resources might be needed? Do we have a clear means of ingress and egress?
True, your thoughts will be racing, but regular practice at organizing and dealing with these types of stressors will be extremely helpful. Communicating with your partner is key, so that you are one entity working at these types of scenes. Planning ahead and practicing together will not only help you be ready for stressful situations, but it will also help develop your partner into a great future EMS leader.
Why is it important for the first EMS officer on scene to remain on scene at mass casualty incidents, MCIs, or any incident?
The answer is simple. The flow of information, the first officer on the scene will triage and gather as much information of the incident as possible. The first EMS officer must stay on the scene unless relieved of his command by a higher-ranking EMS officer, and only after providing a briefing about the emergency scene to that higher-ranking officer assuming command. The first officer's main responsibility is to wrap their arms around the incident. What we mean by this is that we need to make sure we know everything that is happening within the area of the scene and have full span of control. At times, some scenes can be large, and we must make sure that all patients are accounted for, and treated and transported properly. If the scope of the scene is too large, we can have two officers communicating at the scene to secure the area properly and mitigate the response. Next, the EMS officer should communicate with dispatch and also online medical control to alert them of incoming patients and of emergency scene needs. You must think of the span of control.
What hospitals might be necessary? How many patients do you have? Resources needed? Are all safety concerns met? Do we have an ingress and egress corridor?
Communicating your needs as soon as possible to the appropriate resources will help the scene run smoothly. It is important to continue to build on your knowledge base for all situations. We have learned that asking your superiors is of great advantage. They have helped build the paths that we now travel and have had many ups and downs. They love to share their knowledge base with their teams. This is how we build strong teams and continue to grow strong EMS teams well into the future. We should also prioritize the continuity of management structure during our day-to-day operations. Every incident has its own conflicts, and an officer who knows how to handle them is an important asset. As an EMS officer, you should never stop learning. Situations will occur day to day, and being able to keep a calm demeanor will help the team feel confident in your leadership. Every day is a learning experience. When we work with different partners or even with other entities, we need to make sure that we are all on the same page when treating patients. It is important to gather all pertinent information on patients, such as where are they located, whether they are alone or with family and friends, and what is their emergency status. When evaluating our patients, getting information such as medical history, medications, and allergies can help us properly treat the patient and also help the hospital treat the patient. If the scene is large, keeping track of patients can be a challenge, but it is of utmost importance. We need to be able to keep an organized flow of patients and an efficient way of categorizing the needs of the emergency scene as it evolves. Families will be looking for their loved ones, and being able to reunite family members is crucial. As an EMS officer, you have many responsibilities and challenges, so keeping yourself from getting tunnel vision will help everyone involved in the long run. On medical calls, the family will appreciate your empathy and caring for their loved ones. The next thing we will discuss is the transferring of command. When transferring command of an emergency scene, we want to make sure to tell the next incoming officer of higher rank, or one who will be taking over command of the incident, what was done before they arrived, what is being done now, and who you have spoken to keep things moving along. Give them a brief summary of the occurrences of the incident. He or she will change things as necessary or as a patient's status changes. We will let them know what resource hospital was called and which hospitals are available to take patients. After transfer of command, we will do what the incident commander needs from us at the scene. When we have a larger scene, we need to write things down to make it easier to transfer command of the incident. The ability to just hand paper over with all the information makes things easier to be able to follow, as well as to being able to complete an after-action plan. After-action reports are written to help us improve. They are not written to criticize or demean any particular situation. We learn and take on the responsibilities of every scene. We will always have some takeaway from all our runs. Whether good or bad, each scenario is there for us to learn and improve on. We know that nothing is 100% perfect on any run. We need to embrace learning, accept responsibility, and hold ourselves accountable for our every action. There is no perfect way to handle a scenario because things are always fluid and evolving. The idea is to arrive on a scene, take control of the emergency situation, or in other words, wrap your arms around it and be the eye in the storm. When we can step back and see the big picture, that is how we can learn to manage it all. Remember, first in is triage, and don't leave the scene prematurely. Learn to handle the heat and make it yours. This is all on this topic for now. If there is anything you'd like us to cover or discuss, please leave it in the comments below. Don't forget to hit the notification bell and subscribe so that we can continue with you on this journey. We want to be able to help new, seasoned and aspiring leaders continue to improve on their EMS journey. Always remember to be safe, and see you out there.